What's the fastest bug in the world? We'll find out this week on Motoring 2000.
PSN's Motoring 2000 is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them, and Midas Car Care, the way it should be.
Frankfurt, Germany, the country that gave birth to the Volkswagen Beetle. Still the #1 selling single model vehicle in the history of the automobile, 20 million and still counting. So it was no surprise when Volkswagen introduced the new Beetle a few years ago. And while sales have been a tad slow here in Europe, the car has sold well in North America. Yet there are rumors that Volkswagen is concerned that the new Beetle is being perceived as a girl's car. Now don't get upset with me, that's what the rumors say. Yet Volkswagen thinks it has found a place to now create a tougher image for the new Beetle. And that place is on the racetrack.
The new Beetle Cup's first year was last year. It was run in Europe. For the last number of years, they've been running a Lupo Cup, and the Lupo is a smaller version of the Golf, which has not come to North America. Dr. Piek, the chairman of the board, was at a Lupo Cup race 2 years ago and saw it and thought that it would be exciting to bring the new Beetle Cup to the racetrack. One of the decisions that was made at that level was to put VR6s in the Beetle, which obviously does not come as a street car in the street trim. So the reason the VR6 is in the car is because of the sound, and part of the objective with the new Beetle Cup, both in Europe and in North America, is to give the Beetle a little more testosterone, make it a little more manly, and I think they've done a good job with what they've done with the Cup cars. We're here at St. Eustache. We're doing a press day. We've got several of the drivers that'll be driving at the Montreal Grand Prix, which is an all-star event, and some of the media, and giving people a chance to see the cars for the first time. We'll be back here on a Wednesday, a test day before the Montreal Grand Prix, which our race will be on Sunday, June 18th. And all of the drivers will be here and get a serious opportunity to put the cars through their paces. But today we're just kind of exposing the cars to the press and giving the drivers a little bit of seat time.
Volkswagen has decided they want to run this Beetle Cup thing here in North America. They've got a bunch of real race drivers, guys like Price Cobb, Bill Adam, and Hurley Haywood, David Eppingham. They got a bunch of media types. I gather Tim Allen's going to be here, and Craig T. Nelson, the coach. And they got a handful of media guys. And I was lucky enough to be the English-Canadian representative in this particular group. We've got a bunch of guys from Montreal. We've got a couple of guys from the States. And basically the idea is to put on a show for the Formula One Grand Prix people before the actual race on the Sunday. Looking forward to it.
Well, today was my first day in the car, and didn't have a lot of expectations. And after an hour driving it, it's a lot of fun. Had a great time. It's almost like a go-kart. It's really the car's really stiff, really responsive, and has lots of power for a little Beetle.
The car we're going to be racing is a new Beetle, but it's a full-fledged race car, fully independent, adjustable suspension, slick tire, sequential gearbox, a VR6 engine, which is not available, at least not yet, in the production car. And so it's going to be kind of fun. It's also going to be a lot of learning curve for me because I haven't driven a lot of cars like this before.
There's also a rumor out that the new Volkswagen Beetle has become a girl's car, and they're trying to change the image. What do you think of that?
Well, the comment that the new Beetle might be a girl's car, as long as women can afford it, I don't think Volkswagen cares who's buying their car. But yes, the car does have a softer image, I guess, if you like. It's not perceived as being a performance car. They did bring out the turbo version of it, the sport version with the rear spoiler and so on, to try and give it a bit more of an edge. And certainly the Beetle Cup car will be a much harder edged version of the car. And who knows, they feel that the Beetle has legs, as they say in the business. It had a huge surge of popularity when it was first introduced. and their plan is to continue to bring out new versions of the car to keep that momentum going.
Well, it's great for Volkswagen. It's a car that everybody notices on the road, and I'm sure everybody likes, and now gives them a chance to showcase what it can do. And just feeling it out this morning, it's incredible. The handling is amazing, and it's great power. So they've got a great bunch of spectators to show it to.
It's a new image too, isn't it?
I think so. It's a sporty image, and it's fun, and I'm happy to be part of it.
I'm from Volkswagen, and I've got a music problem.
I'm Ronnie. I'm Johnny. You got a problem. We got a song.
He's here! Ladies and gentlemen, the 18 millionth person in the world to buy a Volkswagen just walked through our doors. This is an historic moment. I thought perhaps a theme song.
We did car gigs. Yeah.
Improvement number 1. The compression ratio has been optimized through dish pistons.
Dish pistons optimized compression ratio.
Oh, yes, sign up. Oh.
You got anything else?
Improvement number 2, increased air inlet groupings. Number 18, an advanced manifold preheating system. Finally, improvement number 29, floating bearings for most mounting points. Gentlemen, the most improved Volkswagen ever.
Kid, 5,000 canaries whistling the bluebird of happiness at the Hollywood Bowl couldn't help you.
The Volkswagen Beetle. Now, where have I seen that shape before? That's coming up later on Kenzie's Corner.
This week we slipped behind the wheel of the Solara, Toyota's all-new convertible. Now, to get this vehicle to the alfresco mode is a relatively complex procedure. Life begins as a coupe. It's then shipped to American Sunroof Corporation, where they chop the roof off and send it back to Toyota. Toyota do some work on it and then send it back to ASC to have the soft top installed. Once that's done, it's back to Toyota for them to sign off on the vehicle and then deliver it to you for your driving pleasure. While Solara is based on a platform that is essentially identical to that of the Camry, it is stronger, features a stiffer suspension package and a more aggressive feel. The strength comes from an additional cross brace between the shock towers that supports the front McPherson strut-based suspension and a reinforced transom between the trunk and passenger compartment. Both the shock and spring rates have been increased and deliver a considerably crisper feel than its four-door sibling. Power rack and pinion steering has also been revised to deliver a faster response and a heavier feel. Strategies aimed at imparting a sportier feel. One thing Toyota didn't do particularly well was reinforce the body. There's quite a lot of cowl shake with this vehicle. Under normal circumstances, really not a problem. However, if you kick it, it does limit the handling capability. Our tester came equipped with Toyota's silky smooth 3-litre V6 matched to an equally slick 4-speed automatic. With 200 horsepower and 214 pounds-feet of torque on tap, power is never an issue. That it rates as one of the very best 6s on the continent is an added bonus. The tip-in is fast, the response to throttle input's quick, and the gear ratio is well spaced and matched to the engine's characteristics. Reaching 100 kilometers an hour requires about 8.5 seconds, which is sporty enough to satisfy most prospective customers. In keeping with Toyota's upscale aspirations for the Solara, it comes with a proper heated back glass. It also comes with a powered roof. Once you've released the header latches, the whole lot powers down into the back in about 10 to 15 seconds. There's also a tonneau cover. The problem is it's a real struggle to fit, and so unless you're particular about the way the vehicle looks, forget about using it. Stopping power comes from a 4-wheel disc brake setup that comes with standard anti-lock. The pedal feel is firm, easily modulated, and the ABS only engages when absolutely needed. As a result, stopping the Solara from 80 requires but 34.6 meters. Again, the system is up to the demands of the rest of the car. Inside, the Solara comes equipped with an above-average level of standard stuff. The SLE model tested came with power everything, full leather with an 8-way driver's seat, automatic climate control and an up-level JBL sound system that pumps out decidedly superior sound. The other nice thing about this Solara, well, is the fact that it's got a usable back seat. Well, at least for the top down anyway. There are two items that they did miss out on. First of all, the rear windows are operated via a single switch, meaning you cannot lower them independently. The second thing, there's no seat heaters. Now, if they want this to be considered a year-round, or at least a vehicle that can be used in the fall, the ability to warm your bottom with the top down on one of those cool evenings, it would have rounded out a delightful package. Complementing that 4-seat capacity is a trunk large enough to hold an overnight bag for each of the people inside. Well, there you have it, the all-new Solara Convertible. Now, while it's got to be considered one of the better boulevardiers, it's wonderful at just cruising around. If you're buying it for its sporty persona, don't bother, because this thing is not quite as agile as it should be.
Time to wrap up our long-term Mazda MPV. You know, after logging just over 16,000 clicks, it's apparent that the only similarity to the original MPV is the name. Mazda has taken a good look at the competitors, especially from Honda, as Graham pointed out on a recent test drive.
As with the Odyssey, the highlight of the interior of this van is the rear seat. Fold it down, we're now in party mode. When you want to fold it away, again, very simple. 2 quick moves and the whole lot folds down into the floor. The other area there's a distinct collaboration between Honda and Mazda is in the center seats. Now, if you're a parent, you really appreciate the space between these two seats because it keeps the kids apart. However, when it's time to make up your honey, you can just slide on over.
Graham's a funny guy. Anyway, this 2.5-liter V6, while a tad noisy, does deliver adequate power, and the transmission does tend to go searching at times. And as we mentioned earlier, Mazda's had plenty of time to learn from the competition, and it shows in this vehicle. But they did miss a couple of things. First, a netting between the seats like they use in GM's Montana minivans would have been useful for storing things that would normally slide around. Now, I think Chrysler's got the best cup holders. Well, these are much too shallow, and it's just impossible to keep anything secure. And a pet peeve, albeit a small one, but when you put the transmission stock into the drive position, it blocks a portion of the radio and climate controls. The bottom line, Mazda has hit the mark with this new MPV, and it's priced right. And without a doubt, I'd suggest adding it to your shopping list.
Please welcome the 2002 Buick Rendezvous.
Rendezvous was the first truck put out by Buick since 1923. And it's no secret that there's a lot of interest in functionality of products in the marketplace today, and it's driven a demand for more truck-like products. What the Rendezvous attempts to do for Buick is bring the functionality of a truck and combine it with all the premium touches of a sedan that Buick's known for many years. So what we have is the best of both worlds, really, the functionality that consumers are looking for today and all the benefits of a premium sedan. If you think about it, you get 7 passenger seating with this vehicle, you get a car-like ride, and really with very minimum effort, you get the great cargo carrying capabilities. In fact, if you think of it this way, you get 5.5 times the cargo carrying capability of our largest sedan today, the Park Avenue.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns squealing tires. When you're cornering your car and you hear a tire squeal, your tires are trying to tell you something. Pay attention. It could be as simple as slowing down. If you're cornering too fast and reaching the limits of their adhesion, they'll start to squeal. Simple as slowing down to correct that one. However, in many cases you'll find underinflation, so get a good quality tire pressure gauge, check the tire inflation pressure. If it's incorrect, simply inflating the tires to spec will often cure it. The next thing you want to do, if you still haven't cured it, is check the wheel alignment. If the wheel alignment isn't bang on, that could be the reason for your tire squeal. And lastly, if you've still got tire squeal after checking all these items, it could be that your tires are old and cracked, the rubber's dried out, and you don't have the adhesion you need. A simple check for that involves looking at the tire tread depth and checking for fine cracking in the tread of the tires. Even though this tire is not worn out by any means, the rubber is dried out and cracked, and that alone could be part and parcel of the problem with that premature tire squeal. That's your Midas tip of the week.
Recently, the wife of automotive journalist David Chow of Vancouver was involved in a car accident. Lack of information made it very difficult to prove that she was the innocent party. As a result, David looked at ways to help avoid a situation like this occurring again, and he believes he's found the solution.
Called the accident response kit, and it's really a way to facilitate the whole process when you actually have an accident. Because what people are finding is that, accidents are very traumatic, but a lot of people are finding that the post-accident procedures are just as stressful and perhaps even more frustrating. So this is the actual accident response kit, and this is the prototype at this point. Everything fits in a nice tight pouch. There's a camera, which in the production version will be a reusable camera where you can actually replace the film and so forth. There's an optional voice recorder to tape some conversation or some notes if you just panicked and you just want to tape some conversation. Obviously there's a pen, there's a flashlight for you to use at night. And very importantly, there's two items here to facilitate the whole process. One is an accident report that allows you to record and document information about the accident, like the insurance paper information, a driver's license number, and so forth, both for you and the other party. And then a witness card, which you can give it out to people around you who witnessed your accident so that they can record what they saw and give the information back to you. Again, everything fits in a pouch. It's small enough to fit in a glove compartment. It's light and easy, and everything's there for you to get things going. For the consumers, it's a sure way to basically protect yourself, because there's a lot of people trying to make fraudulent claims. They're trying to shift the blame to someone else, and this is going to allow you to protect your right and your innocence. So we think it potentially could save you hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Well, as David says, it's still a prototype, but with any luck, they'll get it to market, and who knows, it could make a useful stocking stuffer. And in any given year, you can be sure that our own Bill Gardner will be helping people out in distress on the side of the road. So let's head to the garage, join Bill, and see if he has any tips on what to do if we find ourselves in such an unfortunate predicament.
Well, Brad, that kit will probably come in handy. I'll tell you, I was in a bad accident last summer, got hit really hard in a vehicle like this, and a bus turned it into a boomerang. Got my bell rung pretty good, and I couldn't think straight enough to do all the things I should have done at the accident scene. So that kit's probably a good idea. I want to talk this week about a brand new product called Pennzoil Roadside Rescue, and this will help people help themselves if they get stuck on the side of the road. With the high price of gas, a lot of folks are running around with their tanks on empty, waiting for that gas price to come down, and a lot of them are running out of fuel. This is a product that's safe to keep in your trunk to get you to the gas station should you run out of fuel. It'll take you up to 16 kilometers. Roughly the same fuel economy on this product as on regular gasoline. There's just under 2 liters of fluid in this bottle. Now, when they refine a barrel of crude oil, one of the first things they get out of that is gasoline. Further down the scale, they get a product like this. It's not gasoline, it's not an alcohol, but it will combust in an internal combustion engine enough that you can get the vehicle safely to a gas station. It's packed in a double-wall container that's coated on the inside so it's impervious to chemical penetration. It won't leak. It's not refillable. It's got a spout in the back here that you just pull out of the back, extend the spout, curve it to fit into your fuel tank, and it'll go through that little restrictor in the fuel tank. It'll work in any car. Now, this product will get you to the gas station safely. It's safe to carry in the car. One thing you should remember, however, anytime you run out of fuel, you've got to reprime the fuel system. The vehicle needs to be more or less level, and you need to cycle the key a number of times, or if it's a carbureted car, crank the engine and pump the throttle while you're cranking to get that fuel back up to the engine so it'll go. Look for a gas station and refill the car, but Rescue will get you there without any problems. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2000.
If you're big into cars, check out motoringtv.com, and while you're at it, download a copy of Autopilot. Autopilot software searches out the matches to your automotive interest and makes the most of your online time.
The original Volkswagen Beetle was a perfect example of a bad design well executed. It was a thoroughly nasty little car to drive, but it lasted forever, and it helped Volkswagen emerge from the ashes of World War II to become an automotive powerhouse. But the car that saved Volkswagen very nearly killed it, because in the 60s, emissions and safety laws wouldn't let you get away with rear-engine air-cooled cars anymore, but Volkswagen didn't know how to do anything else. The 1500 was a disaster, the 411 and 412 were even worse. So VW did what a lot of companies do when faced with a lack of technology. They bought somebody, in this case, Audi, who had been building nothing but front-wheel drive cars for decades. The technology of that company led eventually to the first-generation Golf, the car we knew as the Rabbit, which is the foundation of the success of Volkswagen ever since. Now, Audi's gone on to be a luxury brand of its own, largely through the efforts of Dr. Ferdinand Piëch, who, of course, ran that company and now is running all of Volkswagen. I guess as the grandson of Dr. Porsche, he knows a thing or two about cars. Now, people that don't study history are doomed to repeat it, and Volkswagen understood that the Beetle was part of the company culture, not perhaps as an engineering icon, but as a design icon. That led to the development of the new Beetle, which is not only a stylish little town car, but as we're seeing today, a pretty serious race car as well. Now, as for the comment that it's a girly car, well, this is the year 2000. You should be ashamed of yourself for thinking that way. Last time I looked, women's checks cash just as well as men's do. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Well, it's time to leave Frankfurt, Germany, and in just a few weeks, a field of new Beetle Cup race cars will be loaded onto a plane here in Frankfurt, headed overseas. Destination, Montreal, for the series' North American debut. And TSN will be presenting a 1-hour special on that race, so make sure you stay tuned for that. As for us, we'll be back next week as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
It looks a bit like a Tonka toy. I think it just tries to be ugly. It probably goes down well with the snowboard generation. I mean, look at these guys with the baggy trousers down to their knees. They probably think it's absolutely cool. I'm probably just 25 years too old for this kind of vehicle. But the question is, does it really have to look the way it looks?
TSN's Motoring 2000 has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oils, formulated for the vehicles you drive and the way you drive them. And Midas Car Care, the way it should be.